talked about this often before, of giving our residents more free time by making everything they do with the council faster and easier. One other quick thing to mention, should have mentioned at the beginning, we are recording these. We tend to record them, put them on our digital YouTube channel. If there's anybody who doesn't want to appear on the recording, turn off your camera, otherwise you will be there. So I'll pass over to the first, well, what are we going to talk about this week? So a number of things that we've been doing. As we've mentioned before, we've slightly changed the context of where we are in our migration plan. And really what this is about is migrating all the content from the previous legacy district and county sites over onto the new Buckinghamshire site. As of tomorrow, we have exactly 1 year before all those sites disappear. We're hoping to finish the migration way before then, but we are really now sprinting towards the end of what we've got to do. You'll see on screen the number of things that we're going to talk about. First one is cemeteries and crematoriums. So to talk about that, I'm going to pass over to Oscar.
Hi everyone, so you might have seen me before. I'm Oscar, I'm a content designer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we've been making use of the new location page template. Next slide, please, Pete. So I did some work last year with the cemeteries and crematoriums team, kind of moving the content across from the legacy sites and kind of updating it and improving it from there. So over the last month, I've been working with them again to kind of iterate the content and make some improvements. So in making those improvements, we made use of the location page. So you can see on the screen now, we've got a find a cemetery or crematorium. So that was kind of one of the major kind of boosts to this, is that you can see kind of where all the local crematoriums are to you. And that kind of helps users to work out who might not be as familiar with kind of the local surroundings in Aylesbury. Next slide, please, Pete. We were also able to make some more adaptations to the page content. So it kind of tackled some of the stuff that came up in the website feedback. So there was kind of issues on kind of access to find a grave and stuff like that. So we were able to make that kind of more obvious on the page, where it's all contained in kind of one kind of singular stream. Also, we were able to kind of maintain the focus that we have on the regulations, which was a big focus for the cemeteries team. And that's about it for me. Sure, who's next? I'll pass on to Karen.
Thank you very much, Oscar. We've got a bit of a guest appearance this week from Karen, who I believe is actually going to talk about what the experience of working with us is like, which will be interesting.
That's right. Yep.
Pass over to you, Karen.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name's Karen Lee, and I'm one of the managers for the registration service. When Louise and Stuart first approached the service, I was wondering how much work it was going to be, how much extra stuff I was going to have to do on top of the day job. But then I thought, actually, this is such a great opportunity to actually tidy up our website and make improvements to our web pages with two experts on board with dedicated time to do that. So our initial meeting was to outline what the brief was and the approach that Louise and Stuart would take. And I was relieved to hear that they were going to be doing all the hard work. So thank you, guys. The process has been so smooth. They've both been really good listeners. They've been quick to learn about our service and to take on my suggestions and points of concern. They took me through every step in small bite-sized chunks. When we were all thinking about the amount of information that we have on our web pages, it can be a bit overwhelming, sort of envisaging how are we going to trawl through it all and how we're going to make the improvements and updates. But Louise and Stuart did all of that, coming to me with updates and going through the pages bit by bit in Teams meetings. And that part of the process I really found most useful. Being able to actually talk through each page and make adjustments as we went along was really, really useful. They're both, Stuart and Louise, are both really understanding and patient individuals, which actually made this project quite cathartic for me. It was good to be able to spruce up the website, to make the content more accessible and meaningful to our customers. and then getting fresh ideas from them as to how we might like to reframe things and look at things in a different way, more from the customer point of view and customer journey. Nothing they change is set in stone. There's always room for manoeuvre and discussion, which I found refreshing and insightful. And then once changes have been agreed, and the pages have been given me to a final run through, which I've just done before signing off. And I must say that I've thoroughly enjoyed working with these two. I feel that I've made 2 new friends, so thank you guys. It's been a really good experience.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Okay.
I'm wondering whether it's too late to get that into their C4P today, but that's really good feedback. We try obviously to make that process as painless as possible, and we're really there to help and to guide and to work with services as much as we can. We're not service experts. We can have our digital experts, but we'll write things in a certain way, but we're obviously working with services and teams to produce content which really works for them. Yeah,
it definitely felt a collaboration and a 2-way conversation every time on everything, and it worked really well. I felt. I'm hoping they felt the same.
Yeah, no, I've had really positive feedback as well, so I think it's gone really well. Thank you very much for your input today, Karen. Much appreciated.
You're very welcome. I will leave you to the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Okay, next up is alcohol and entertainment licensing, and to talk about this is Kira.
Hello everyone. So my name's Kira. I'm a content editor working on the migration side of the digital team. So I'm here to talk about some of the work me and my team have done around alcohol and entertainment licensing pages. Working on the project, we found the information that we had to get across to users felt complex, and with a new policy statement go live, time was of the essence to get it live. So looking at the old pages, we found that there were some unclear page titles. Content felt heavy and complex. So for example, licenses were sort of separate yet connected to each other, and fees were all on the same page, making it difficult for users to know if a fee was relevant for them. Also, it didn't really look good on mobile, and it's been shown that users will disengage with the website if a page doesn't look good on their device and will shop around elsewhere for the information. There was a reliance on PDFs and guidance pages. This creates accessibility issues and can make the user journey confusing, directing users away from the task at hand. And obviously we had the new policy going live. So next slide, please. So obviously we've kind of made it with a fresh new look. Titles are clearer and more action-based. Content is more structured, written in plain English. So we've included the information the user will need to know to complete the task, with the relevant fees and forms on the actual pages themselves, and clearly explaining why and how users will need to complete a certain task. We've included new contact forms, so hopefully this creates a clearer call to action for users to get in contact with the service if they need to, along with streamlined application process for gov.uk forms. So what we've done is we've retired the old PDFs and online forms using forms through gov.uk, which not only meant that we provided users with another route to locate the information, it meant that the forms would be accessible, up to date, and help users submit a successful application first time. Next slide, please. So how did we achieve this? So what we do is we create content audits to identify what works and what doesn't. In this one, we identified that some pages were rarely used, such as hypnotism licenses and live music. We were then able to confirm with the service that these pages were no longer in scope. We identified users' needs. With this one, we actually identified 12 user needs, creating dedicated pages for tasks that were important to users and the service. We came up with our information architecture, which allowed us to mock up how the sections will look and showcasing them to the service as well. And obviously, lots of collaboration with them. It was great working with the team, and together we were able to create factually correct content. We achieved this through discovery meetings, weekly catch-ups, and discussion and questions through Google Docs, which created flexibility in how we worked with them. So thank you for the service for working with us. And of course, we collaborated with other teams, such as the forms teams. So what I've done is hopefully it gives other service who may be watching a kind of a flavour of how we work together to achieve the same goal, which is informing users of what we do and how we engage with us in a more meaningful way. That's me, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kira. I think it reiterates again, thankfully, what Karen said to us, that actually working with the digital team is okay. It's not hard. We're nice people, honest. Right, next up is Greg, who's going to talk to us about the Ukraine emergency response pages which we put together. Over to you, Greg.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, so this week the BAU team has been working with comms to publish some new content around the Homes for Ukraine scheme and how sort of the council and residents are supporting people fleeing the conflict over in Ukraine. Obviously, we have to react quite quickly to these situations. So our initial response, we created a single page that started off quite short, so just a simple paragraph and some links, and we put in place a homepage banner for visibility. But this quickly grew as more comms came in, so the page began to be very long, as you can see on the right hand side there. The headings were kind of unclear and not very sort of action based, and we were also relying quite heavily on FAQs that we've been provided by the comms team. Next slide, please, Pete. So we got our heads together in the BAU team, looked at the content with a bit more of a user-centered, task-based approach, and we ended up splitting the content into 3 pages with more task-oriented titles. So we had offer to share your home with a refugee, make a donation or pledge support, and apply for a Ukraine family scheme visa. We placed these in an index template. Because we know we're going to get more content around this coming in, which will enable us to sort of display the pages a little bit better. And then we also had a redirect for the apply for a Ukraine family scheme visa out to Gov.uk, just to avoid duplication of content on our own site. Next page, please. And then just to dive into one of those pages as an example of what we were up to. So offer to share your home with a refugee. We used an inline index template for this to split out the content into different sections. We improved the structure with sort of subheadings that were clearer than the old ones. We split out the information for users who have a named contact to sponsor and those who don't, whereas they were sort of merged together before, just to make those processes a little bit clearer. And I think it was Lucy as well added a next step section, which was really good, so users know what to expect after they've completed the application process. Next slide, please. And another big part of this task was taking the FAQs that I mentioned earlier. So quite a few of the pages were lists of FAQs. So we took those and sort of reinterpreted them in a more sort of structured, purposeful way. So clearer headings, a more logical structure, and the use of bullet lists to make the information easier to scan. Next slide. And then today we have actually made another change to the page. That's what it looks like today. But yeah, conscious that we're probably going to make more changes as we receive more information on this as well. But yeah, this was a good example of us responding to something quite quickly, I think. Publishing quite quickly, but then going back and iterating and improving the content. The user-centered approach made for clearer content and an improved user journey, which hopefully makes residents' lives easier when they're trying to complete these tasks. And it was a good case of teamwork, not just within the BAU team, but with our colleagues in comms as well. And that's me. Thanks.
Excellent, thanks, Greg. I think it does highlight something that Karen talked about earlier. Whilst this was obviously an emergency response and we acted very quickly, we managed to get things up really quickly, but nothing is set in stone. We can iterate, we can change, we can go back at things if we think things don't work. So it's really important that services particularly realise that just because where you start isn't necessarily where you finish. And we know that there are things that even in the work that we've done already on migration, we know there are things that we're going to come back to and make better. So I think it's really important to do that. As Greg says, a real kind of kudos to the team as well, because they responded really quickly and really kind of with a real sense of pragmatism around some of this stuff, because it was quite noisy, the whole environment around this. But I think we did a really good job in what we got. Right, so next up, we're going to hear from one of our Kickstart employees, who's hopefully on the call, Catalin, who's going to talk to us a little bit about his experience and also what he's been doing, which is pretty awesome, actually. Catalin.
Thanks, Pete. Hi, everyone. My name is Kathleen. I'm on the Kickstart program in the digital team, and today I'll talk a bit about that. I start with what is the Kickstart scheme. So the Kickstart scheme is a temporary employment program designed to help young people of the universal credit and into work. Young people will enter a work placement with an employer, and the government will pay them a minimum wage for 6 months. Next slide, please. So who can apply to the Kickstart scheme? The scheme is technically open to anyone aged between 16 and 24 who is claiming universal credit, regardless of their education. Everyone in this range of age can apply through universal credit or directly through gov.uk website. Next slide. My work on the Kickstart programming. So this is basically a map scheme for different sections of the council sites that also have analytic figures. I created those so the digital team can easily have a look at them without going through every single page of the website. Other than that, I also had training on the platform that digital team used to create and edit council site pages. In addition to that, everything is going well, and I get the support needed to understand the job and what's going on in the digital team.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's me. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Catalin. I think Catalin is slightly underplaying what he's done with some of this stuff. So he's been with us, I think, 4 weeks now, roughly, starting around about the 28th of February.
Yeah,
his work on Miro, which is the platform that he's using to do the mapping and analytics. Dominic sent me the link before the show and tell, so I could go and have a quick look. This is a very small part of what he's done. So his Miro board that he's done for sport and leisure, for various other sections of the website, fantastic. So I think for 4 weeks, never having done this sort of thing before, really, really impressed with what Catalin's done on the Kickstart program. All right, that's it for today. We're a reasonably short show and tell today. If anybody got any questions, either put your hand up, shout out, or put it in the chat. Otherwise, we will see you again in 3 weeks' time. Nope. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Speak to you soon.
Thank you.